introduction, I'm going to show you my props. Choosing these ones and eliminating others is a key moment, a crucial decision in starting on the path, the line that will make this tour. It strongly reminds me of what happened outside here last week when I was faced with having to take the first step in the on-site creation of Beyond Repair, the step that pre-echoes the last step, that bestrides everything that is in here, in between the beginning and the end. An exhilarating moment, but strangely sad, because all the other shapes that could have been made from the given material become impossible. I have to let go of too many options. Anyway, here we are, willy-nilly, the props. Here are some small gifts for you, something to touch, to hold in your palm as you listen, as you get to know me through this sense of touch. Perhaps you will all settle. Perhaps yours, your little one, I'm going to have to hand this round and you pass it round. Perhaps yours will settle in this very hypersensitive spot. Do you know this spot? Right in the middle of your palm, where the crucifixion nail went. It's one of the most sensitive spots in the body. See how gently you can touch it and you can feel something from it. It's where I make my pots. So please pass it round and I'll bring on the next prop. These are pictures. This is a picture, I should say, of the underneath of that dish that's going round. Straight away, we are face to face with the fact that broken things have a strange beauty. They ask to be put on life support just when we want to let them go. Would you like to take one? Whoever ends up with them will have too many. And here are some of the powerful messages that have accompanied the shards. They've come from all around the world, from Australia, from Poland, from Canada, and from nearby. And I'm going to show them to you later. I'm going to read some later. But this was one of the boxes in which they came. And it says, "These pieces are steps along a journey. Thank you for helping me to let them go." You'll hear more of these later. And finally, here is my coat. The coat I wear when I am Material Woman. She is my other half. For the last 20 years, she's been egging me on to make work that involves long journeys and the spreading of my ceramic work on foot, encouraging me to wander, to go round in circles, and to come back home, to set my clay work in the context of the gift economy. Once I am wearing the coat, we together have the freedom to talk from the heart. We want you to know that even though we may only be going at the pace of a pavan, we are never going to be tamed. Deep inside us live some wily creatures with plenty of practice at rebellion and shambles and crying out loud and and staying with the trouble. We are on the loose. We cannot breathe inside a box. A last-minute application almost a year ago, and I plunged like an innocent into the big wide world of British ceramics Biennial. I want to make an installation that gets us thinking about what to do with all our stuff when we come to the end of our working days. Sometimes, do you think artists overvalue their work? Yeah. Not in money terms, but as if, because it's creative, it has some sort of right to take up space. I'm thinking I need to be tidying up before going. Isn't it part of my job to leave a light footprint? There is no everlasting life, you know, in spite of what the post-humanists say. Not for our work, not for us as individuals, not for our culture, not for our civilization, as we call it. There's no meaning to stuff unless someone is giving it meaning, and those meanings shift all the time. In the context of climate alarm, my work has been following a direction of mending, of making do and mending, of hoping against hope that hope might help. But beyond repair takes up a more confrontational position. I have to be alive as I face my own extinction. We have to be alive as we face the impending chaos on our little planet. We have to accompany each other. We have to have the courage to recognize endings and even go so far as to believe that we can give those endings shape. It's a survival strategy for me, probably for you too, to make up a story of my life as I'm going along. A series of chapters that gather myths and legends as I go. Material woman is one of my myths. I wrap myself in protective metaphors, chapters that have an ending, that contains the seed for the next beginning, like EastEnders. I'm calling this current chapter, How to Scatter Myself. The story that we are telling is one of collaboration with BCB, especially with Rhiannon, throughout the extensive period of shard gathering. Collaboration with the many people far and wide who sent shards to Stoke in response to our call. And collaboration of a very special kind with Rachel Kudinowska, who played an essential part last week in bringing the pieces together. The story that we are telling is one of coming together and spreading apart. A story of breathing in and breathing out. And you see what is happening. A strange creature is being born. A landscape, a reptile, a monster, a pathway made of shards in a city of shards. Each plate, each tile, each jug, each flower pot, each drain pipe, each tiny remnant has its story. And if it doesn't, we will give it one. we will include it in our own. At the breaking of each piece, there has been a drama, more than likely a yelp of sorrow, of rage, of compassion, of shame, of despair, of bereavement. Thousands and thousands of touches from the makers and the weeping breakers, all in this mountain. Things do go all the time. The local chip shop suddenly doesn't do sweet potato chips anymore. Well, you've left your umbrella on the bus. But it's a very particular moment of loss that has caught my imagination. The moment something already damaged is recognised as irreparable. And the moment that maybe follows, perhaps years later, when it becomes possible to let it go. Some things are easy to let go. Most people are happy to see the back of their toenail clippings and their school thoughts. But broken china seems to cry out with a very loud wail. I will read you some of the very fine messages, the words that are in there with the clay, that came to us so trustingly, that let us hear that wail. One of the messages had on the outside of the package, it had a handwritten for the postman, clinking normal. Call for broken shards was what people heard. Some people I just asked. I'm just going to read a few. Wouldn't it be marvellous if I could put on different voices for each person? Anyway, they've all got a different voice. The enclosed shards were going to be the 4th edition of the Al Warden Apollo globe. Whilst fettling the craters, I pressed a bit too hard on the leather hard cast and made an irreparable dent. To ensure I didn't spend more time working on something that wasn't perfect, I deliberately smashed it after firing. I hope these will be of use. I'm not going to pack them particularly well, so expect they will arrive in worse condition than originally sent. This jug was one of many used as table centres at my wedding in 2016. I've kept lots, but this one had an accident and needs a new life. Excited to contribute. These are a clear out from my shed where I make recycled work using smashed up old pottery and combine it with waste clay from a local college's slip casting area. I hope you are able to put these to good use. There's so much old pottery and shards out there, and I hope the artist can highlight that waste in some new and relevant way. These items have been donated by Year 9 students at Brentwood School. They spend weeks creating, and many students become very attached to their designs. Unfortunately, some are dropped in the process, and some explode in the kilns. They were thin pieces. These are the remnants of those that didn't quite make it. And the site seemed to be littered with old pottery fragments. just waiting to be found, like presents from the past. There was a lot of concern about the sharpness of the shards. Sharp shards, caution! Please find enclosed many attempts, experiments and adventures in pottery for the beyond repair. And then another one which is worried about. These are small thin thumbles that were given to my dad as payment for a piece back in the 80s. These were made by a chap at Royal Doulton and are porcelain. There may be small pieces that could cut you, so please be careful. Flat shard, deliberately broken as part of my working process. Fragments become new sculptures in the way our lives change in our ongoing journey. Uncle Peter's Jacobson designed Rosenthal china, so cherished that every broken piece was saved. We found a bucketful when we took over the cottage. I've managed to move on finally from making thumb pots to throwing. I'd be honoured if these 3 thumb pots made it into your piece as shards. You have the pleasure of breaking them. 4 mugs at the end of their life, smashed into a box, white as death. I've been potting for 2 years now, myself, sadly chipped beyond use in the dishwasher. Hope it finds a second life with you. I would have liked to have sent more shards, but postage costs are prohibitive. This is the one from Australia. I broke this plate in my Darlinghurst studio the other day, which was a relief, as the plate decoration had gone too far, and the plate was destined to sit there on the shelf, annoying me for years if it hadn't broken. This gorgeous pale bowl, once previously proudly sat on my shelves, it took a death plunge after being nudged whilst I was watering a plant. I kept all the pieces in vain hope of an advanced kintsugi repairer dropping in to fix it. Shards from my mother's pot that cracked in the frost this year. Did not know this had happened till I turned it round and it collapsed. It held her favourite Daphne tree. A shard I found in my back garden when I was gardening this spring. A shard, someone said. A one single tiny shard. This was my favourite sculpture, made 40 years ago, as I studied the possibilities of clay and lacquer at Wolverhampton Polytechnic. Always on display at home, I was devastated to hear it had toppled off its shelf one day. I kept the fragments, intending to piece it back together, but seeing your call out for shards, another journey may be possible. Please see enclosed remnants of expressions of self that are no longer representations of self. Ceramics I made when I was trying to find my feet at the wheel. Uncomfortable and awkward attempts at personal style. Ceramics made nonetheless with my own hands by a mind and body hell-bent on healing through creativity. I honour those past expressions of self and release them and let them go. Just a pretty little plate. I've taken special delight, I don't know if you've all seen inside, I've taken a really special delight in scattering a few still intact, still coherent shards inside the church, where they do a very good job of asking what is beyond repair, lying there doggo alongside the currently whole objects. The story that we are telling is one of coming together and spreading apart, a story of breathing in and breathing out. I want to say something now about the economy of the gift, as it is central to this piece, but also to the rest of my work, especially my work as material woman who has no recognized economic existence. The thing is, in a gift economy, such as is set up by this sharing of shards, the creation of a relationship is paramount. You get to know someone through giving and receiving from them, with them. The market economy positively discourages personal relationships which may get in the way of making a deal. You don't go to the petrol station to get to know the attendant. The gift exchange is an erotic commerce. By this, I mean it is based on attraction, union, and involvement, unlike market commerce, which has its base in logic, reason, and differentiation. When you give a gift, you set a momentum going. The weight of the gift shifts from body to body. The gift is not an exchange. The gift that cannot move loses its gift properties. Whenever someone turns a gift into capital, the flow is interrupted. The whole point of a gift is that it is used up and yet still remains. As long as it is passed on, it creates energy and it creates connection. A gift economy supposes at least 3 people, so that its life moves in a circle, its motion beyond the control of a single ego. What goes around comes around. The circulating of gifts makes nourishment for those parts of our spirit that are not purely individual, parts that link us to the family, the group, the neighborhood, to the rest of humanity, the rest of the planet. These are ideas I have freely taken from a wonderful book, The Gift, by Lewis Hyde, which was originally written in the States in the 70s, but only published in this country a few years ago. Hyde continues with thoughts on how to enhance the gift. He says the gift engages us in a community and invites us to undertake the labor of gratitude by which the soul transforms the gift after it's been received. Once a gift has stirred within us, and I'm talking here about the gift of a talent as much as the gift of a thing, it's up to us to nurture it. The labor of gratitude is the middle term in the passage of a gift. So each holder of a gift may develop it, plant it, fly it, ride it. The labor of gratitude makes many priceless things. The writing of a poem, the raising of a child, the invention of a prosthetic that a thalidomide child may play the trombone, the shaping of a footpath. you could say that creativity is a sort of willing bondage to one's gifts. Gifts are a kind of anarchist property. When the labour of gratitude is completed and a new gift is ready to pass on, the giver loses a part of herself in order to become part of a community of gift exchange. And back here on the ridge of the mountain walks the little white pots. Each one is getting ready to leave. Each one is a seed, a gift, a metaphor for my scattering as you take them away at the end of the festival. The little white pots that are changing as we look. Each one has drunk from the seed and is gradually crumbling away. They are beyond repair. The story that we are telling is one of coming together and spreading apart. A story of breathing in and breathing out. When I got back home the day after setting up here, lo me, if there weren't shards and white pots left over. I made a bonfire and burnt the old clothes that I'd used to wrap the pots to take them to Stoke, but still, damn it, still, there is still stuff left over. Whenever we make things, there is always a shard left over. That will be the next thing for someone else to find and make into their next thing. I would like to end with a dedication to honour the very, very many unwitting participants in Beyond Repair. Those who originally dug and shaped and fired the clay that has now become this bricolage on which the new work stands. Thank you. You are the history. We feel your presence. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's come about in a similar sort of process to the shards, I suppose. When I was 75, I made up a story about how I hadn't got a pension, and could people please, well, I hadn't got a pension, but could people send me scraps of their favourite clothes that they had left, and I would make this coat to sit in, and it would keep me warm through my doddery time. And so originally I didn't make it as Madeira Woman's coat, but then when it was made, that's what it became. So it's about 10 years old, and it's, in fact, this is a piece of yours, Rose.
There's a couple of pieces of mine there, actually. I can see them. Surely it's more than 10 years, isn't it?
Oh, don't make it more than 10 years. It's the same thing. There's a story in every piece, and of course I can't really remember all the stories, so some of the stories vanish and some of them get retold in a different way.
And wasn't it connected with you living in a taxi for a period?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
That was called Curtains, and people brought me scraps of material and I made curtains for the taxi. And that was the beginning of Material Woman. I see them as seeds. They're not. They maybe can't be repaired back to what they were. I think that what I find difficult in our culture is this obsession with repairing what's actually had its day. You know, it needs time to go. Like the monarchy, for instance. I mean, you know, it's not functioning. I think that it's a paradox. We can despair and still be alive, you know, and still be creative. And we can be very near to the end of our lives, or something could be collapsing around us, and we could still find a remnant and make something out of it, wear it maybe.